Ta'ala then instructed the angels to prostrate. At this time, the earth was inhabited by the jinns, and then they were all wiped out except for one jinn. And he was allowed to stay in the company of the angels because of how much he used to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So since he was in the company of the angels, the instruction which was given to the angels also applied to him, and he had to also prostrate before Adam alayhi salam. All the angels, Allah Ta'ala says, prostrated. فَسَجَدُوا إِلَّا إِبْلِيسِ. Why didn't he prostrate? Number one, كَانَ مِنَ الْجِنِّ فَفَسَقَ عَنْ أَمْرِ رَبِّهِ. He was not from the malaika, but rather he was from the angels. Therefore, he had a choice whether to be obedient or disobedient. The angels don't have a choice in this matter. Allah Ta'ala has programmed them and created them such that they will only and only obey Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. As for mankind and jinn kind, we have an option and a choice whether we want to be obedient to Allah or whether we want to be disobedient. Kana min al-jinn, he was from the jinn kind, he had the option to obey and to disobey, and he chose to disobey. Then why did he disobey then? He looked at the command. From inside there was already something in his heart. There was something that he was already stirring up within himself. And he was looking to achieve something. And that became apparent through what he said. He said, أَأَسْجُدُ لِمَنْ خَلَقَتَ طِينًا. Should I prostrate to that one who has been created from soil? وَخَلَقْتَنِي مِنْ نَارٍ وَخَلَقْتَهُ مِنْ طِينٍ. You have created me from fire and created him from soil, and then I prostrate to him. So in his analogy, one was that he was using his analogy where there was no analogy to be used. In the presence of the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there is no analogy. You just have to obey. The master says and the slave obeys and submits. Number two, his analogy was wrong. He said the fire was better. أَنَا خَيْرٌ مِّنْ. Whereas who said fire was better? Fire destroys. Fire causes harm. Fire causes fear. Whereas the earth, it grows. It grows things of benefit. It's humble. It lays low for people to utilize it. So therefore, even based on the analogy, his analogy was wrong. Fire is not better and superior. Rather, earth is, because of the many benefits that the earth provides. So, this one element of his, what we call racial superiority, drove him out of the company of the angels, and Allah Ta'ala told him to get out. But he didn't just get out, but rather he asked Allah Ta'ala, Allah, anzirni ila yawm yub'athun. Look, give me a chance. Give me some respite until the day of resurrection. So Allah says, fine, you have the respite. And then he says, and he promises Allah, لَأُغْوِيَنَّهُمْ, I will definitely lead them astray. His promise to Allah, none other than Allah, that he is going to wage war against mankind to make sure he derails them from this path. And because he refused to prostrate before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, his mission, his life mission until the day of Qiyamah is to try and make man not prostrate before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, a few things we learn here, even before we go ahead. Number one, every time we do not prostrate before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, shaitan is achieving his goal. That is shaitan's ultimate mission. Number two, is just as he, based on his assumption of racial superiority, disobeyed and looked down upon a creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, anyone who bases their superiority over others on the grounds of race, they are following the exact route of shaitan. That was one of the root causes of his downfall. And of course, when one thinks of himself to be superior than someone else, and then they see that somebody else whom they see as inferior to have some sort of preferences, then they question, why does that person have a preference and not me? Why does that person have a privilege and not me? I should have it because of this reason, not that person. It breeds jealousy too. So these feelings which arises in people, in us, yes, sometimes because it's based on the waswasa of shaitan, and sometimes it's based on our natural instincts as man to incline towards these things. We need to acknowledge these are the root causes of evil, which because shaitan had it in him, he became the Iblis that he became. He became the rejected. He became the one that was accursed. So therefore we should also see whether we make our choices of our actions based on racial preferences and based on jealousy. If yes, then you know we are heading on the roots of shaitan. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala clearly warns us, إِنَّ الشَّيْطَانَ لَكُمْ عَدُوًا فَاتَّخِذُوهُ عَدُوًا. Look, shaitan is your clear enemy, but you have to take him as an enemy. And you will only take him as an enemy when you stop obeying his instincts, when you stop saying labbaik to whatever he asks you to do. At the end, you can't blame shaitan. When shaitan will be given a chance on the day of judgment to give his khutbah and his bayan, he will say, look, I didn't have any sultan, I didn't have any authority over you. All I did was I called you, and you submitted, and you done what you did. So don't blame me. فَلَا تَلُومُونِي وَلُومُوا أَنفُسَكُمْ. So don't blame me today, blame yourself. I won't be able to help you. Shaitan lures us into this mindset and a frame of mind that we think, you know what, we have the support of so and so, we have the support and so and so, so we carry on our disobedience and our oppression of any sort. And then a time comes when we look around and when we see that all of this disobedience that have been carrying out was on the basis of this person, that person, or this thing and this thing. And all of a sudden when I am in trouble, when you have been caught out, when you have to pay hefty fines, or when you have to face a sentence, no one's there for you all of a sudden. You see that all those people whom you thought were your people, who were going to support you, who never discouraged you, all of a sudden they've disappeared. That is how shaitan acts. كمثل الشيطان إذ قال الإنسان اكفر فلما كفر قال إني بريء. When you commit the act, then shaitan says, look, إني بريء منك. I am free from you. I have nothing to do with you. I don't even know you. And you know what he says on top? He says, إني أخاف الله. I fear Allah. Shaitan says, I fear Allah. I have nothing to do with you. Believe me, this shaitan exists in human form, but we don't realize it. They come along with us. They clap hands with us. They'll pat us on our back when we fall in trouble. Say, I fear Allah. I can't lie for you. The problem is, when things are normal, then we don't take shaitan as an enemy. We take him as a friend. And every person who acts like shaitan, we treat them as a friend. He's my brother, he's my brother, he's my sister. But it's only when shaitan takes you that extent where he's done you, then you realize who your true friends are and who your true enemies are. But don't delay this until you reach judgment day and then you realize. Realize it now. It's not so hard. Just look around you, look at your friends, look at your people around you who you hang around with. Do they encourage you towards Allah? Do they discourage you? Do they support you in the things that you know you're doing wrong? Or do they discourage you? You will know immediately. Those who take you for salah, those who invite you towards good, yes, they may seem like boring people to you, but they are your true friends. Those who tell you the bitter truth that you don't want to hear, They're your true friends. Those who only tell you the things that you want to hear, they're your enemies. So this is one thing we need to realize. Last thing, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given shaitan this power. وَاسْتَفْزِزْ عَلَيْهِمْ وَاسْتَفْزِزْ مَنِ اسْتَطَعْتَ مِنْهُمْ بِصَوْتِكَ. Allah ta'ala told shaitan, look, you go and entice whomsoever you will, and how much ever you can, entice them through your voice. And that's the only one thing. There's three other things, but this one thing, shaitan has been given the power of voice. What is that voice? One is the waswasa and the whispers that we hear all the time. Whether in salah, outside of salah, there's always a whisper that comes in telling us to do this and that. But this voice of shaitan can also be music. You listen to music, whatever tracks, whatever lyrics it may have, will have an impact on you and your behavior. Musical instrument, also the voice of shaitan. Haven't you realized sometimes when people are listening to music, they begin to dance along with it. They begin to just shake their heads along with it. If that is the smallest effect that it can have on your limbs and on your behavior, that you lose control of yourself, you lose sense of where you are. You might even see or hear people sing along. Forget how, if they got good voice or not. They'll just sing along with the lyrics. They don't know where they are. They've lost their minds. That's the smallest effect that it has. And the worst is that it will take you away from Iman completely. The voice of shaitan also are the play and the amusement, the social media, the TikToks, and every other media platform out there. Can you not imagine? One trend comes out because of one person doing something so silly, and then the whole world is dancing to it. They will change their fashion, they'll change their hairstyle, they'll change what they wear, just based on that one thing that came out on that social media platform. If that is not enough to prove that in the voice of shaitan, I don't know what else will wake us up. So this voice of shaitan, we need to see from where is it coming. It can be from the media, it can be from the BBC too, no doubt. But we need to realize that that is the voice of shaitan. Don't take your deen from these social medias, because you will be taking it from shaitan. Take it from the sources where you're supposed to, which is the scholars, those who have learned the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Shaitan comes in different forms and different ways. He'll come to a pious person through ways of good deeds to take that person away. Likewise, when shaitan wants to remove a generation from deen, he will come through these social media platforms in the disguise of scholars where they're not scholars. You don't know the credentials of those people posting those things. Yet they will be speaking in the name of deen, but yet it will be contrary to the deen which Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam has brought to us. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us all. Ameen wa akhir da'wana.